90 minutes of undistracted time on marketing, I guarantee you won't have a marketing problem in 2 months' time.
On this week's episode of the podcast, I have Jenz Robinson from the Gymowner Network.
I don't want to be the guy who tells you what you want to hear. Like, I'd rather be the guy who tells you what you need to hear.
We all get into this industry to change people's lives, but we get stuck in our careers, in our gyms, in our businesses.
What is the meaning around the product as to what it does for them in their life? Until you do all of that stuff, none of that shit matters. Don't take advice from people who haven't played the game.
How do I become better at creating that product?
No, that's a great question.
Let's jump into the episode. Jenz, we're going to dive into 10 things that keep gym owners stuck. And I want everyone to listen to these 10 things now, because I guarantee 3, 4, 5 of them are going to resonate with them. And then you should stick and listen, watch the rest of this episode to find out what the solution answers are.
Sweet. So we've got market like crazy, ignore your weak spots, fly solo, dodge difficult conversations, hand over the keys, grind nonstop, forget pride, stick to a flawed model, diversify everything, and go at it alone.
Great. And as we go through these, I think everyone listening or watching, just take notes. And some of it you may connect with, you may disconnect with, you may agree, maybe not. But what we're going to do is literally we speak to so many gym owners. We're just going to go through this list and jam on it. And I just want everyone who's listening or watching just to take away valuable information so they can go away, change their business if it's needed, and then therefore change their life, hopefully. Just to give context, just in case people haven't seen the previous episodes that you've been on, can you just tell everyone a little bit about yourself, what you do day in, day out?
Cool. So Jenz, or many people know me as Coach Jenz from Instagram world, as if that's an actual thing. My day-to-day kind of looks like running the PFCA, the Professional Fitness Coaches Association. That's the market-leading educator in kind of this coach space. We've got the Gymowner Network, which helps gym owners build a business they're proud of through fixing their product, helping them build the team, and ultimately become profitable. And then a big portion of what I do each day is I'm head of March on Gyms. So right now we've got 3 sites. We've got 2 others we're just about to open. So for me, I'm driving the team, driving the commercials, setting targets, holding people accountable, helping people in the team all grow and actualize what is a big mission. So it's a diverse role. Let's
get stuck into point number 1.
Let's go. So the first one, so we try to do this as an antithesis to what you should be doing. Just because if we said, here's 10 things you should be doing, you're probably going to go, yeah, I'm doing that. But it's like, okay, here's what this is what you can do if you want to stay stuck. So number 1 is just market like crazy. Who needs a quality product anyway? What do you say to that?
Well, what we see at FMA is everyone will tell me they're really good coaches, trainers, my team are the best. But when they get an influx of new people coming through the door, they're quickly churning. And they're not they're not keeping customers, which is what we're in the game of.
Yeah. So, yeah. I always find it as like, I imagine a large portion of gyms come to you because they think their problem is, I just need leads. I just need leads and everything will be okay. I imagine if you could run an AI tool through every sales call that you've had, that I bet 95% of them would be like, if only they tried our product, then they never leave. And it's like, well, is that really true? Because the 2 leads you're getting a month are it's the only market size that you're actually testing. But the reality is your product speaks to so many other things, not just how well this marketing funnel, this growth funnel is working, right? So it's like, 1, it's how good is the results that we're getting with people. And what loads of people listening might be is like, oh, my results are great. It's like, yeah, for the first 6 weeks, the early adopters, the ones who are hyper motivated, they've just put skin in the game to your front end offer, your 6-week challenge. What happens when they lose sight of where else they go past those first 6 weeks? Like, how are we keeping members for like 9 to 18 months? How are we making real meaningful lifestyle changes so that their identity is completely shifted? Like, that's what I care about with your product. How well are we connecting people from a community standpoint so that we're not having loads of people who just feel isolated, but actually feel integrated part of the values of the business, and you're starting to attract the people that, speak to your values. And then all of a sudden we can do that, we can keep people for longer, and they are now bringing their friends, and all of a sudden the marketing starts to happen and you create the ecosystem. Like what you guys do so well is you can pour fuel on a fire. But if the gyms aren't creating a fire in itself, an ecosystem of which fuel can be chucked on, like you're just gonna make a rod for your own back.
Yeah, marketing can't fix a broken business.
Yeah,
it can make it look shiny for a little bit, but then the truth always comes out, and the customers don't stick. What do you see right now across the industry? One-on-one, small group, large group. Is it dependent on the size of the gym? What is the model that is preference and working right now?
I think naturally you've got a few different ways in which you want to look at it, and it's hard to answer that question without like the context of it depends. So on one angle, you could look at it and be like, if you are a very, very good coach, personal trainer, super well educated, the impact that you're having is very notable, and you are looking to build a business where you can try and grow a few more arms and legs in terms of the impact that you can have through your coaching values, then small group personal training for sure. You can still keep like a little bit of control of that coaching product, but it allows you to now be way more profitable, scale the impact to a degree, and start a higher team. And then if you can start to move into that identity of leading said team so that they can do what you do and eventually be better than you, then it's a win-win-win. I think if you go towards large group, where you go like, I'm a very good coach, I care about the coaching product, to then just wash it down with large group, I think that's a huge mismatch in terms of your values, and you probably end up looking at your business with a little bit of like distaste. But equally, you might be someone who's a kind of good coach, you've got good principles, but you're not that good. But some of your super strengths are your people skills, how much you make people feel warm and welcome. And you might be able to create a club type experience where, it's large group, people are coming for general fitness, which is what most people need anyway. And if you can scale that to a high profit, high margin, low attrition type large group model, it could work in your favor. Well, what we tend to see is a small group PT gym will generally have a churn rate of about 3%, where a large group facility will more likely stabilize at 5%. So it just depends. Like, how good is your marketing? How good is your product? If you had 200 members, are you happy to be losing that amount of clients?
How many of the gyms that you work with still offer or service on a one-on-one basis?
I don't think any.
What would you say to the studio out there or the PT that's all they know? Why should they transition?
Why should they? It might be like, well, it depends. So should you? I don't know. Should you? Like there's some great one-to-one practitioners who are making, let's say, £7,000 to £12,000 a month, coaching 25 to 35 hours a week. They can come and go pretty much when they want to. They've built a diary of clients that they really want to work with. Maybe don't open up a gym if you don't want to now start a whole new career, right? But if you do feel that you are destined for more, that you eventually want to buy back time, that you no longer want to be in someone else's diary and you have to show up for when they said to be there, you no longer want to sell time for money, then maybe you should. And then therefore small group PT would definitely be the one, because there is no two ways about it. It is the most profitable thing you can build in a very small amount of space if all your values and everything are aligned in terms of how you build that product.
I think thinking back to my career, is the book The E-Myth. I don't know if you've come across it.
No.
But basically it's that whole thing of like trading time for money. And I was like, yeah, that's what I'm doing. I couldn't play rugby. because I couldn't go to training on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so I wasn't getting selected on Saturdays. When I was ill, I didn't get paid, just consistently exhausted. And it's that taking that leap of faith of like, I want longevity in this industry. I want to create something of significance, and I want to create like a business I'm proud of, not just be the business. And more PTs who've built that good solid client base, they've got the pros and cons of like, do I take the leap of faith and go down that model of either taking the clients that I've got on the gym floor and start offering small group, or do I go and sign that lease and get my own studio space, probably for the same amount of money that they're paying gym rent for.
Yeah. I think there's so much benefit in moving those one-to-one sessions into a small group setting, for sure. I think the reality is how many more conversations can you have with Sarah about her dog? How many more Mondays do you want to spend the entire Monday going, how was your weekend? How many more Fridays do you want to go, what are your plans for the weekend? Until you're sick of those conversations, right? Because what tends to happen with subpar trainers is that like accountability and adherence, like kind of relationship with their client for the first 12 weeks is it's great. But then you start to become this weird friend where now we're talking about the dog and the affair and all the rest of it, and who you're going to sleep with on the weekend, and it's not really coaching. So now it's just like it's pay for a friend time. And it's like, what's happened here? Whereas what we tend to see is for those great coaches who then move back into the small group personal training thing, it's a level of challenge that gets the coach out of them again, which means that now I'm coaching the 4 to 6 people in front of me. I need to make sure that they're each getting an adequate experience of challenge, but also when I'm having the conversations around their behaviors that should be supporting them around the gym, that I'm having those conversations rather than, how's your dog?
Yeah, I love that, because that's so common where the PT has a friend.
Yeah.
Or the client has a brand new friend, or it's like a counseling session. It's not actually a coaching session around fitness, nutrition, improving lifestyle.
Yeah.
In terms of the product on the gym floor, like programming, session times, core movements, what are you seeing that's working right now? Again, the answer to that would always go down to like your philosophies as a coach, as I hate the word, but like the CEO of the business. Like you're the one who's like building that product on your philosophies. So we always have this like analogy. Like, do you remember the Insanity DVDs, right? So it's like if you were to package up your best beliefs onto one DVD that you're going to now sell out to the world, that you believe this is how you get people fit, what does that look like? Because that's what your gym needs to be. That's 100% what your gym needs to be. And then it's through that it will now accentuate through your programming, how many times you expect people to be there, what kind of demographic do you want to have. Like for us, if we look at the data across small group personal training gyms, across the hundreds of gyms we work with, the average attendance per week is around 2.3 sessions per week. So if you're only going to see someone who's going to come in 2.3 times a week, what is the best value for money you can give those people? So it's definitely going to be full body. It's definitely going to be all around motor control, movement quality. And that's going to be our ability to impact them at the highest level. Equally, if you've got a gym, large group training facility, you're expecting people to train like a 3.8 to 4.5 frequency a week, you're asking them to build their whole life around coming to your gym. You need to, 1, be charging appropriately, and 2, make sure that product is allowing them to actualize what you've sold them on as being fitter, healthier, more toned, have more energy, whatever else. So the answer to that question is it depends on you, your values as a coach, your values as a business. Like for us, for me, Ollie, Mass, Paddy, like anyone who's running our gyms, one of the things that we absolutely love is we can walk in and with pride see how people are moving and be like, fuck, they move so well. Man, that looks so good. Or the effort that they're putting in when it's like, they might be doing some aero stuff. And it's like, it's those little pieces that like, as a lens of value of which I'm looking upon my product, can I go, yeah, to my best knowledge, this is what's best for them and that person. How do I become better at creating that product?
No, that's a great question. I think first and foremost, it's a pursuit of constant curiosity as a coach. So like, you still need to keep your eyes and ears on the ground in terms of the coach, the latest science, what's working, what's not working, what have you. And if you're not going to do it, your head coach has to be doing it. And that head coach has to start driving better conversations with you and the team. So we can constantly look at our products and go, are we proud of the work that we're doing? Okay. The next thing is looking at how well is said product getting great results with our clients. Now, one of the things that we've kind of pioneered that everyone's kind of adopted now is this cohort system. Obviously very misunderstood. So let's take this cohort system. You've got 4 coaches on a team, each have 50 clients each. The reality is like, if you're just sending a check-in form, a very generic check-in form, you're ticking a box and you're getting tick box responses. You're asking, how's sleep? 7 out of 10. How's nutrition? 7 out of 10. How's training? 7 out of 10. Like, you can't coach on the back of those responses. So actually, in reality, what we need to do is go, okay, well, what are the questions that we need to be asking the 50 people that we just go, no, actually, there's 50 individuals. What is each individual person's needs, and how can we best meet them? Is it a weekly check-in? Is it a monthly check-in? Is it a once a quarter, I'm going to text you and go, let's go for a little coffee before training day? Maybe that's what they need, right? But until you mine through that data and go, okay, who's here for what reason? What does success look like to them? What is the meaning around the product as to what it does for them in their life? Until you do all of that stuff, none of that shit matters. And then we can look at it and go, okay, well, do you know what? This lady, Sue, she's a lawyer. She's crushing it in her career at the moment. She just needs training to like keep her mentally sane. So actually, rather than drilling her and going, why are you not tracking your numbers? Why are you not PBing this week? What's wrong with you? Just be like, how's headspace at the moment? Fuck, training's just been so good for me right now. Sweet. But I wouldn't know that if I wasn't having the right conversations with her, rather than just imposing something. And you've removed the coaching.
So that cohort basically keeps track of the clients.
Basically keeps track of the clients, but not in a tick box kind of way.
We have a number of open gyms, independent open gyms that listen to us. Membership can range from as low as 15, 20, all the way up to 50, 60, 70 a month. They want to have a product, because at the moment they're just offering equipment. What would you say to those gym owners? How can they evolve and add on an additional revenue stream of a coached facility inside a facility?
So I've seen this done well and done poorly in many different ways. So first and foremost, the power of what you guys do is, as marketeers, you can help the gym owner sell something that's a lot more outcome focused, which the buyer thinks they need, right? So first and foremost, the kind of buyer who's looking at different gyms like that, like they don't know anything, right? They just think they need to go to another gym. And what you might find is they'd be like, oh, I was at that David Lloyd, but it didn't work, so I went to Virgin Active. That also wasn't great. But since I've been training at LA Fitness, I've got great results. What she didn't tell you was when she joined LA Fitness, she also had 3 free personal training sessions on arrival, and then ended up buying personal training. She's associated just with the gym, but she's not realizing it's because she's paying astronomically more and being held accountable. Now, the reality is, like, it doesn't matter where she went, right? She, like, at some point, she put skin in the game. Now, when these gyms are marketing and bringing people in, there's a large portion of people that would 100% pay more if they're going to be guaranteed a result, right? So they go, wow, I can put skin in the game on this. This is actually going to work, rather than trying to do it myself. Now, what a big box gym like that shouldn't do is say we're going to do small group personal training, but do it in the corner and make it look and feel like you've just stuck a little plaster on the business. Because when you do that, it looks like shit, it smells like shit, it's definitely shit, right? So if you're going to do it in your space, and we've seen it done successfully with some of our gyms, one in particular makes me think of a gym out in South Africa where we actually built a box within a box. So this big box gym, whatever the membership fee was to use this beautiful gym. But then we built an actual studio space that was end to end, like a high-end personal training facility. And we ran it in there. We sold it there. You could package it appropriately. You could sell it appropriately. And it worked really, really well. Where it goes wrong is where you just chuck a couple barbells in the corner and say, oh, that's small group personal training. There, you've got other members of the gym like walking in and out. Sometimes you go in and all the equipment's not there. Like it's not great. It's not a great experience.
Dean, I was at his gym about 3-4 weeks ago, so we'll flash up some footage now on the video version of this podcast, so people can visually see. So when you go into his gym, it's an open gym, ton of equipment, and then they've got a sectioned off area for small group, and you can only go in there if you are part of that small group community. And going back to what you said, what I see in lower cost membership gyms is PT just like takes over 2-3 machines, and the 4 clients just rotate around those machines while other members are coming in and out trying to, steal cables or attachments or weights, and it's just chaos. And the product's not clear.
No, it's not clear. The other thing those kind of gym owners can do is run what's called a hybrid model. If they're renting space out to PTs, you're making a rod for your own back. But something you could do is hire a personal trainer and run what's called like a hybrid model. So if you think of like the rise of online personal trainers these days, the 12-week transformation you're selling at like, I don't know, 1,500 quid. You could do the same thing in your gym where you've got designated PTs who can look after a cohort of, let's say, 30 to 50 clients, where they get individualized program delivered via an app, but the coach is there kind of floating around. So you use the gym, you follow the program, all the rest of it. You just have an assigned coach do it for you. Dean, when we first took him on, we tried to create some revenue to actually allow for all the kind of growth that he has. So we ran a hybrid model. I believe we got up to 80 clients paying 150 quid a month like this. It was crazy. But lo and behold, it got to a point where that part of his business felt like a real mismatch to his values. So we tore it down. So even though it made loads of cash, eventually we tore it down because we wanted it to be more on his PT model.
So to recap on point number 1.
Yeah, it's going to be long.
Marketing. Yeah. Can't grow a business if the product's not in place.
100%. Point number 2, ignore your weak spots. Plugging skill gaps is overrated. Where would you go with that one?
Well, not asking for help.
Yeah.
Basically is the first thing that springs to my mind.
100%. I mean, something that we talk about in boardroom a lot is an honest reflection on like how you're showing up and how you're being more vulnerable. And I think it's especially in like the boardroom environment where we've got, loads of gym owners making proper money, and you feel like you got to pretend like you know what you're talking about. Whereas like the best people in the room are the ones that aren't afraid to ask the questions. The best people in the room are the ones who are happy to be seen as like, oh, you should have known that. It's like, should I? Like, it doesn't matter. And the reality is the skills that got you to where you are now aren't going to take you to where you want to go. And therefore, if you don't see this as a career pathway, then you're going to stagnate. And that's something that's like really important for us. Like if there's one thing that the Gym Owner Network is compared to any other mentorship program, is ours is so education centric. Because I would rather with pride teach you how to fish than give you a fish. And it's through that me and the team, we push everything through an education lens. So for example, the lack of education a gym owner has around marketing. So they just blame their marketing for not working as your fault. Where in reality, it's like, well, what do you understand about marketing? What do you know is the purpose of marketing? If the purpose of marketing is to relate and connect people in your radius, it's like, how well are you doing that over and above the paid ads? It's like, oh, okay. So is it a you thing or is it a me thing? Because it's probably a me thing. So, and it's with that comes everything. And I'm obsessed with this idea of like, as much as all the outcomes that we want to achieve are really important, whether it's X amount of members or X amount of profit margin, whatever, the journey is always way more important than the destination, right? We know that. We've heard it 1,000 times. It sounds really like you kind of get over it. But the reality is like, if you want to get really good at something, you got to focus on the craft. And just like in the PFCA, we'll smash the drum on the craft of a coach. What we're trying to establish is like, what is the craft of the gym owner? We talk about like turning gym owners pro. Like, get obsessed with becoming a true pro at marketing, at sales, at leadership, at product, at behavioral change, at people psychology. Like, all these things that all of a sudden changes the game for you.
And you can't do that if you're stuck on the gym floor.
That's true.
Coaching 10, 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
But let's just go back to the point, which is just ask for help. And I think sometimes in the fitness industry, we can be all guilty of putting on a Superman cape and thinking we just can do anything and don't need help and we can figure it out ourselves.
I mean, I did it with you 2 weeks ago, right? For context, I reached out to Ben going, Ben, we're struggling with some of the stuff we're doing from a marketing standpoint. Could you lend us your professional eye? And like, obviously from an ego standpoint, I could be like, I don't want Ben to know that we're struggling. I don't want him to be like, ha, look at you. But you were gracious of your time, for one. And two, we had a really honest conversation where it was just like open book. And I can't stress how every time in my life, whenever I've got to a place where I'm actually struggling, I will ask for help. And I think that's one of my superpowers. Is like, I come across super arrogant anyway, so it's fine. But like, I don't need my confidence to come from what you think of me. I need to come from my own belief in the work that I'm doing. And I'm going to get that by asking for help, always.
And not trying to figure it out yourself.
Yeah.
Because we all get into this industry to change people's lives, but we get stuck in our careers, in our gyms, in our businesses. And those that ask for help basically leapfrog others. And I've seen it firsthand where someone's been in this industry a very long time, but someone younger will come in, leapfrog them in terms of impact, in terms of finances, all because they just took the road that was walked already by someone who's done it before them, who's basically given them the keys, as cheesy as it sounds, to unlock their success.
That's so true. I mean, you referenced Dean. Dean's a perfect example of someone who he's 24. Like, it's crazy where he's at, but he's there because like he knows no different. So he's just like, yes, boss, and he'll get it done. Whereas the reality, like what you're talking about, the gym owner, 10 years in, whatever, he's constantly trying to solve the problem himself, where he's not just going, why don't I just ask for help in this one? And the young, dumb attitude of Dean is leapfrogging this guy who's trying to act all cool and strong, when in reality, your ego is the thing that's holding you back.
There's that quote, if the same problem keeps showing up in your relationships, you're the problem.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people listening to this podcast, every day, right, you got problems in business, you're always putting out fires. But sometimes the problem isn't outwards, it's inwards. And the best way to get help with that problem is to tap in and get advice.
100%.
It could be some personal problems with a professional counselor. It could be business and getting help with the likes of yourself to basically just clear up whatever needs to be cleared up to get on that straight path.
100%. I mean, you brought it up earlier with some I guess, efficiency changes you've made in the business. And we talk about it as like, don't treat every fire in the business as a kitchen fire. A lot of them are just little candles burning. And the reason why those candles are even there is because you've allowed that to happen. So sometimes just let it burn. Just leave it. And actually just spend time working on you, which is a much better situation.
It's a bit like kids, pick your battles, right?
Oh, definitely pick your battles when it comes to kids.
Point number 3.
Fly solo. Hiring a team just complicates things. Where would you want to go with that one?
Well, if you want impact, you can't do it on your own.
100%.
And saying like with more people, more problems, which to a certain degree is true. It comes down to the individual's skill set at leading that team.
Yeah.
And I think anyone who's in a leadership position, you're not born that way. It's something that you learn and adapt and you become, and you have to evolve.
I agree. I think the reality is like the step to go from just you to your first hire is really scary. And people see it purely as how much is it going to cost me to hire that person? Where in reality, it's like, well, what is the investment that I'm making to this person? What does it allow in the future? And that delayed gratification. And that's the biggest shift when you go from like busy personal trainer to successful gym owner, is realizing the delayed gratification of the decisions you make. So like, I did it for years, so did you. As a PT, you work an hour, you get paid cash. And that instant gratification of like, I work, I get, feels great. Now, all of a sudden, you work a lot, you pay money on a lot of things, and you're not getting paid back. And it gets quite scary. But a simple analogy is like, you know, if you think at max, you can grow your gym, and this is on good data for us, like any gym owner we've taken on who hasn't had a team when launching their gym, the max you can get to is 40 clients, right? Give or take 10. But let's just say one person, you can get to 40. By hiring a team, you can now double that, right? So all of a sudden, let's say you're making, let's just go simple math. It's costing you, so you can make $8,000 a month by yourself. By hiring this person, it's going to cost you, let's say, $3,000 a month. But now you can now double that. You can now make $16,000 a month, all because you made that investment, but you didn't see it that way. You just saw it as a cost. Then the opportunities to build multiple people means that you can impact more lives. You can buy back time, and then use that time to make them the conduit of impact. And that's where like all gym owners need to move towards. And like, whether you are obsessed by coaching or not, or sales or not, whatever, I think the one realization that I'm coming to terms with more and more with my own businesses, but also with the mentoring I do with all the gym owners, is like, as much as you say you open the gym for more impact, sounds novel, sounds noble, in reality, you didn't want to coach anymore. You were done. But now you don't want to let go of that because that's the only thing you know. And you don't want to go down this leadership thing because you're scared because you don't know shit. So now you just stay stuck in this one place where you're not growing. And you start to resent the business because it hasn't bought you back time. So now you're like, well, I have no time. I have a shit team. And you blame everyone else but yourself.
So you see, well, let's just go back a little bit. So a lot of people listening, watching this will know the answer to this already. But I think it's good to cover the basics. Why should a gym owner take on employees, not contractors? Because that's a big mistake that we see all the time. Yeah,
huge one. Great point. I made this mistake when I first started. It felt easier. In the beginning, it does feel easier. It costs you less. There's less risk. All the rest of it. But if you don't show them the commitment that they need from fully employing them, you'll never see the same commitment back, which means you are never going to be able to like educate them, make them stay behind for CPD sessions or, you know, do the extras. They're never going to do that because they just want transactional time. On top of that, they care more about the name on their chest rather than, the name on their backs rather than the badge on their chest, right? That's all they care about. So they're out for themselves. So the problem with that is eventually they're growing their business under your roof, and at some point someone resents someone else. You either resent them because they're too busy and you're not, or they taking up space and you trying to grow your business at the same time. Or the reality is like you didn't have the balls to look after them in the beginning. Now they're successful and you regret it, and then you just project all this hate onto them. Bottom line is, what's that Mandela saying, or that African proverb? It's like, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with a team. And we have to be in a position whereby we can build a team around us that is an extension of our values as a company.
Let's go back to that gym owner who's in that in-between stage of they've got one, two, three staff members, but they're still coaching 10, 12, 15 hours a week, which doesn't sound much, but looking at, you lose a day and a half, 2 days a week potentially. What's the next step that they need to take? Go all in and get that next staff member to pull themselves off of the gym floor?
Yeah, it's quite scary to do that, because the gym owner is conditioned to showing up at a certain time and coach. Like I joke and I'll be like, you know when to dance, like a monkey getting, like you put money into one of those mechanical dancing things, the dancing monkey, and it just dances, right? Like you can dance when money's getting paid, but you don't know what to do with your time when you're not coaching, and it's quite a tricky transition. Something I heard recently from one of the ex-founders of PayPal. He says when you're making these transitions as a business owner, you don't go and create a list of what you're going to do. Start off with what are the things you're no longer going to do. So make a not doing list and share it with your team. And I think that's pretty cool, where you say to the team, hey, I'm no longer coaching and you can't call on me if one of you needs cover. You're a team, fix it between yourselves, but I'm no longer coaching. Now, if you need justification right now on this podcast as to why you don't need to be coaching, well, the reality is the business needs the best of you to try and drive this bus forwards. Most gym owners are not getting enough leads. That's for damn sure. Why don't you spend the first 90 minutes of every day focusing on marketing and tell me how that helps your business? This is something that we preach often within Gym Owner Network. My colleague, Matt Connolly, says it all the time. It's like, let's find the biggest bottleneck in your business. Oh, it's that. It's like, fine. If you genuinely spend 90 minutes of undistracted time, not scrolling Instagram and calling that research, 90 minutes of undistracted time on marketing, I guarantee you won't have a marketing problem in 2 months' time. But they don't, right? So it's like, well, to the gym owner who needs to come off the floor, imagine how much more impact you can have. And I do this calculation quite often for a gym owner struggling to see their value. So let's say, for example, if you spend 2 hours chasing leads, and in those 2 hours, let's say you made 4 sales, and those 4 sales brought you, let's just go £1,000, right? And of those 4 sales, you know that in 4 weeks' time, they're going to convert to a member. And of those conversions, they're going to stay for, let's say, 10 months at an average of £2,000 lifetime value. Now tell me, how much is your hour actually worth? Is it worth the 50 quid you want to charge for personal training, or the, 25 quid it costs to put you on the coaching floor for that hour? Or are you actually worth, $5,000? It's like, oh, that's a little bit different, isn't it?
What would you say to the gym owner who's advanced out of coaching? They've got that coaching team. What's the next hire? Is it a PA? Is it executive assistant? Is it a lower priced admin? Is it a VA in the Philippines? Is it a digital marketer? Is it a sales rep? Like, what's the next step of building that team that isn't connected to the coach to help run the business?
So with that, I would say run a deep audit of how you're spending your time. So Monday to Friday, everything from like replying to emails when you're taking a shit to, putting the Instagram post late at night while you should be present with your missus, right? Whatever it is, like audit your time and then go through that and go, okay, what are some things that I can get off my plate right now? What are these things that I'm doing that is not serving me in the business, right? And it might then look like a social media intern. It might be a VA, whatever it is. I do believe, just on that any gym owner gets to a place where they can hire an ops assistant or an admin assistant, whatever you want to call that job role. I find that as a major unlock. I haven't seen too many times when they've been able to successfully delegate sales over to just some sales person. I think that's kind of been a hit and miss for a lot of people. I think managing a sales team is quite hard. I haven't figured it out yet for sure. But that ops assistant is a major unlock where you get all those £10 an hour tasks off your desk.
Because how many requests are coming in every single week? Oh, hey, I want to pause my membership, or I'm going to Bali for 8 weeks. I need to change my address.
Yeah.
The booking app isn't working for me.
Yeah.
And then you need to contact the booking system, and it's all these. Before you know, you lost 2-3 hours.
Yeah, and again, like if we define your value as £1,000 an hour, like anything less than that should not be done by you.
You're selling some merch. Oh, I've got the wrong T-shirt size. I need to bring it back. Like, you shouldn't be dealing in the nicest possible way.
Not at all.
With those tasks.
Yeah. And yet the gym owner will tell themselves that like, oh, but I'm not on the coaching floor anymore, so the members want to hear from me and feel connected to me. It's like, not through that. That's not your job.
It's quite funny. A good friend that was on the podcast, Paul Goff, he coaches physios, and he has physios say, I'm the best physio, and if I no longer treat the patients one-on-one coming through the door, they won't come. And his response is, well, if you was to drop dead, do you think they will never buy physio again in like respect to you now not being on this earth? And the answer is no. If they're in pain, they'll just find another physio. It's a story that you keep telling yourself. And I think one thing I took away from this was identity. I think if you've done 10 years of being a coach, being a PT, your identity is that. And it's scary to now be that identity of a business owner, because it goes, get back to what you said, is you don't know what to do with your time.
Yeah. And it's, it's the start of a new career, right? So you're going in like deer in the headlights, like, where do I start? But then it goes back to the other point where like, ask for help, because there are people who've been there, done that before you, and they're doing pretty good.
Yeah, you're not the only person ever to employ people and, move off the gym floor, or if you're a restaurant, get someone else to cook the pasta. Legit. Step 4.
Dodge difficult talks. Let problems fester. I think this one for me is like the avoidant culture of us all trying to be people pleasers and not having those difficult conversations. I see this as through 2 lenses. One, through like the team, right? So it's like being so scared on how to lead. Most gym owners will be paralyzed with overthinking as to like, am I micromanaging? Am I giving them enough? What are they doing with their time? What are they doing when they're not coaching? And they get like so lost in all these things, and having those conversations and challenging people in a supportive way is really important. But then also the difficult conversations that you're not having with those clients that aren't serving you anymore, the clients that aren't part of the values anymore. They're a bit toxic. They're just a bit of a cancer within the business. And it's like, as a gym owner, one of your number one things is have difficult conversations. Pull up that annoying client, Diana, and be like, Diana, your behavior is not it's annoying. Like, stop or leave. And you'd be surprised how quickly Diana gets back in line, to be honest. But most gym owners are too scared to have that chat.
Why are we like that? Why are we doing that? Because we've been conditioned that we must service and help everyone.
Yeah, I think you said at lunch, right? Customer service. But it's like the customer is not always right. And not every customer is for your business. In a service-based business that's so intimate like ours, I truly believe that like some clients can just F off. Like genuinely F off. Like somehow you came in, my marketing didn't push you away. Maybe I marketed it wrong. Maybe you got referred to by someone, but whatever, we got you in. But you don't value our coaching product. You don't show up on time. You've always got shit to say. Like, just get out, right? And you and I said this earlier. It's like when you start to realize how much your time is worth, you start to pay less and less attention to that shit. And you're far more conditioned as a business owner to have those conversations. Not because they're difficult or not, because they just are. And it's like it's a protection of your time. It's actually not a difficult conversation. It's a necessary one. And that's a huge shift that gym owners need to make.
Tough conversation that many avoid is around pricing. Where they've got some legacy clients on a very cheap rate, but they just keep them there because they're quiet and, they were with me through COVID, or they were with me since the start, and I can't possibly put their prices up, what would you say to that gym owner who's having that conversation with themselves?
I remember when Matt Connolly, who is now part of my team, but he once was a mentor of mine, and a similar scenario, and he said, don't reward loyalty with charity. And I thought that was just such an appropriate like summation of that. And you know, price increase conversations are really tricky. Within our system, the Gym Owner Network, the way we've created a training on price increase is actually quite cool. It's, I don't know, maybe 15 pages of questions. I mean, there's not 15 pages of questions. Sorry, there's 15 pages, maybe 3 questions per page, and there's space to fill out the question, right? But it's like all the kind of questions you need to be asking yourself to justify why you should be doing a price increase. And things like, how much have you invested into your team in the last X period since you've done it? How much have you invested into the business, into you? How much has the product changed? How much has the gym changed? All these different questions. So I can start to like bring to light all the stuff and then be like, okay, cool. Based on that, how much have you now seen a return of the investment on that? And it's like, oh, it's like, cool, sweet. So we can almost justify it that way. And I think the problem is gym owners, they just see it as like, oh my word, the clients won't see that and they're just going to leave. And also, most gym owners know their product is shit as well, deep down inside. I think they do. We see it when you come on a seminar of ours, the truth eventually comes out. So there's a lack of solid foundation as to why you want to do the price increase, even though you need to and you know you need to, but you just can't justify it yourself. So that's what I want to do, is create substantiation for your claim. And then do it because actually some churn is good churn. Like getting rid of clients is okay. It's like pruning, right? Like I'm not very good in my garden, but my wife would tell you, you know, any good any good gardener would prune in order for something to grow better, right? And it's a bit like your business.
I like that. We've talked about staff. Sorry, we've not talked about staff. So we talked about clients, we talked about the pricing around clients. Now let's talk about staff. Yeah. Gym owners avoiding tough conversations with staff.
Yeah. I think the biggest one there is not hurting their feelings as to why they aren't performing as well as they could or should. But there's nothing worse than you not having the conversation and them thinking that you have a conversation you want to have, but you're not having. So then they continuously manifest that they're underperforming in your eyes, but don't know how, don't know why, and you're not having the conversation. And it becomes this horrible, toxic loop of like lack of connection, lack of alignment. You know, we're very fortunate that a lot of people on our team absolutely value feedback to a point that it's quite obsessive, and it's like they're just constantly like, give it to me. But if you can create a culture where it's like, hey, let's have that feedback loop. Let's have that conversation where I can challenge you, we can challenge each other and what have you. Then all of a sudden we can drive the coaching product. But again, it comes from a place of people too scared to hurt their feelings, where in reality it comes back to a culture piece on like me having this conversation around your underperformance this morning wasn't because I'm trying to hurt your feelings. It's because we have a shared mission, a shared vision for what we want our coaching product to look like. And if you're not performing through the values, then what's happening?
That could be staff member turning up late, scruffy on the gym floor, lazy with pointers on technique.
All of that.
And you're just avoiding it and letting it fester and consistently. And then before you know it, you lose 8 members that month rather than 3.
Yeah. And then you bring in another coach because you're too scared to deal with that. You bring in another coach. So hopefully they just churn out. But while the other coach comes in, they get indoctrinated by that person's poor behavior. And now you've got a cesspit of just like really shit culture.
What should the cadence of meetings be?
So as like a bit of a rule, you definitely want to have, so you want to have a CPD session once a week, where you're driving like the mean average of education within the group. That needs to happen once a week. You want to have a programming meeting where you are proactively looking at the program, looking at what's coming on next week or where we're taking the direction, and we're proactively moving forward as a collective. Then you want to have a reactive programming meeting whenever necessary. So let's say, for example, we programmed X on the board, nothing went to plan this morning. How are we going to react? How are we going to call an audible to change what's currently happening? And then you want to have what's called an at-risk meeting or a cohort meeting, whatever. So in that meeting, we're looking at our designated clients, who's adhering to the shit, who's not, who's ghosting us, who's not attended for the last week, all these different kind of key markers to kind of go, hey, that's an engine warning light. Doesn't mean they're leaving, doesn't mean they're going to churn out now, but it's an engine warning light. And if you start to see different trends, we can either go, hey, that coach constantly has 5% attrition, everyone else is at a 2. I need to spend some time with this coach and or whatever else.
Nice. 0.5.
0.5. Hand over the keys. Abdicate responsibility to outsiders. Do you want to go or shall I?
Yeah, well, I've been guilty of it where you think that you're the only person who can do payroll or write the programming or, you know, whatever element of the business it is.
Yeah.
And it's that, just let go.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for me, the biggest one, especially this abdicating responsibility, is like how many people come to you as FMA and go, my business isn't growing. And then they invest the money into doing FMA kind of campaigns. And then when they get all these leads, but they don't chase the leads, they don't take ownership of how they're going to chase it like their life depends on it. And then they're very quick to be like, oh, we did FMA, but it didn't work. Or, oh, well, we ran a campaign, it didn't work or whatever. It's like, hold on. Well, what level of ownership are you taking in this situation? And I think that's massive across the board is like, you know, whether we're going to have this conversation or not is like, whatever business you're in, you have to take extreme ownership. And anything under like 1.5, 2 million a year as a business owner in our kind of industry is purely just a reflection of you and your mindset. So the lack of performance or the lack of marketing or the lack of team or whatever is all down to you, your mindset, how you show up, your culture, your core values, everything. So until you fix you, no one else is going to come in and save your business. No one.
So you're saying that too many gym owners are outsourcing stuff and not learning it themselves or not willing to take responsibility for learning it, or just you go deal with that. I've paid you to do that. It's your responsibility. It's
the latter, right? Where it's like, I imagine the ones who do best with you guys, right, are the ones who show up on the calls, ask the questions, do the work, and then ask the questions again, because they have a proper vested interest to kind of go, I want to drive this forward with the help of collaboration with you guys, right? It's the same with us. The success stories that we've had within the Gym Owner Network is insane, of which I'm super proud of. But let's not kid. There's also, 10% of gyms who literally like fix me, fix my gym. It's like, cool, well, show up, do this, do that, and they don't, right? And it's like, it's the reality of they aren't willing to take responsibility and see it as them being the problem, and then get obsessed with, as we said earlier, the career of the gym owner, which is now you're starting at day 0.
Or just like a weight loss client, deconditioned client comes through the door, like fix me.
Yeah.
And then they don't adhere to any nutrition. They don't do steps, hydrate, don't sleep.
Yeah.
No lack of workouts.
Yeah, all of that shit.
And then they go, oh, Ben's gym didn't work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where the reality is they didn't work.
Exactly. And
it's easy, day in, day out, I guarantee gym owners are facing that with their customers. And then they're repeating that pattern back out to the world.
Yeah.
In how they're showing up.
Every time. I couldn't agree more. I think the one thing that like kind of almost breaks my balls a little bit is I get called being quite direct. I've recently had a gym owner leave saying that like, he felt like I bullied him a little bit, and yet I completely transformed his life. And it's like, I'm not going to not be direct, because unfortunately no one else is telling you what you need to hear. I don't want to be the guy who tells you what you want to hear. Like, I'd rather be the guy who tells you what you need to hear. And if I don't change you now, but that little dose changes the trajectory of where you can go, and maybe the next mentorship you go to, you actually listen to, whatever, like, I can rest easy at night. But there's nothing worse than the gym owner who will literally, like, we call it mentorship whores, who goes from like mentorship to mentorship or agency to agency, and they go, oh, they didn't work and that didn't work, that didn't work. And in reality, is like, as you said earlier, the dating analogy is like, maybe it's you, dude.
Just looking for that like golden nugget. Or
that silver bullet.
Yeah, like that's going to change everything. But the reality is, it's them. Yeah.
Yeah, legit.
Number
All right.
6.
The next one, you and I can't speak to this one. Grind nonstop. Time off, who needs it?
Well, the reality is we all need it.
Yeah.
But it's hard to not stop.
It's so hard to not stop. I recently hit a proper like wall of burnout. Just recently, and it was the reality of my super strength. So I've done some work with a sports psychologist called Chris Bodman, and he ran a spotlight personality profile on me, and I came out as a forceful optimist. And that's my super strength. I can run through walls, and I'm going to do it with an optimist lens all the time. It's why people love working with me, because of that influence I can have. But to the same vein, it can be my weakness. If at no point I stop forcing things, forcing change, forcing outcomes, all the rest of it, and just take a logical, empathetic step and just be like, how do I feel about this situation right now? And just recently, I hit a wall where I was running through walls, one after the other, and then eventually, car crash, and man down. And that was literally me last week, weirdly. And truthfully, is when you get stuck in a rut of just do, you and I both know it feels like you're operating on low power mode. You don't have full cognitive power of your brain, but because people like you and I, we can operate at that level, it's okay. It's like operating hungover. Like, we can do it. You kind of get good at it. But it's not the best version of you. And if you're not taking time off, you eventually just get worse and worse and worse. And the mean average around you gets worse and worse and worse. And you just get frustrated. And you want to pass blame on everyone else. But it actually just comes back down to you. So it's fresh of me now to talk about this. One of the biggest things I've gone and set out is a new operating rhythm. So rhythm within my week that I'm going to try and stick to try and force myself to have time off, whether it's the time with my kids and be more present, whether it's time with my wife, whether it's go and do some hobbies that I haven't been doing, let alone the holidays, which you and I, we pencil in and we go to. But I think the intensity that we work at between holidays, like what I do in 3 months, most gym owners don't even do in a year. But I'll do that repeatedly. And as much as I put a badge of honor on my chest, be like, look how cool I am, the reality is just an ego play.
And with kids, sometimes it's not even a holiday.
No, it's definitely not.
I think I've been guilty of this in the past, where you work mode, and then dad mode, back to work mode. And there's no like me time. And maybe the me time you get is that 1 hour workout a day. But apart from that, you're not doing anything else.
Yeah.
And I think we went for lunch before this podcast, and I'd love for you just to talk about the hobby you've got back into and why you stopped it, but then why you're restarting it and what you feel that does for you.
So I love downhill mountain biking. I would do it on a motorbike if I could. In South Africa, where I come from, it's a lot easier to just take your bike out and like green lane. Where here, there's a lot more constraints, restrictions. Anyway, I hadn't done it for almost 2 years because of training for the ultra and all the rest of it. I just didn't want to risk the injury. But it's the one thing that I can do that forces me in a pure flow state. I can't think about work while going downhill, turning sharp bends. I'm going to wrap myself around a tree. So it's like you're in the moment. And I went last week for the first time in like literally 20 months. And I was smiling from ear to ear. Like the grin across my face was just ridiculous. And I was just reminded of like the whole point of having a business is to be able to do that sort of stuff. And I got stuck in a place of like feeling guilty for taking that time, or feeling judged by my team or my colleagues for being someone who's like not working hard enough. And again, it's my own manifestation of something that doesn't even exist.
What I love about that scenario is you can't text anyone because you hit a tree.
Yeah.
And but you're able to switch off. Like how many business owners drive that little commute from their house to their gym or wherever it is, and you're on your phone still?
Yeah.
Because you're pushing stuff along, pushing stuff through. You're replying to customers, new inbound leads, and you're on the go. You go to the toilet, you're on your phone, on the go. Like you get into bed, you're on your phone, on the go, and you go for lunch, on the go. But when you've got a distraction, a hobby, something where you completely switch off, you basically come back version 2.0 of yourself, re-energized.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's quite sad when you say it on the go like that. It's pretty sad, isn't it?
Everyone who's achieved something and has gone against the norm and has a business, which if business was easy, everyone would do it. So it's incredibly tough. Sometimes you're just in that hamster wheel of business. And you
if I could describe where I got to recently, was literally like, any kind of, like a Need for Speed movie or like Fast and Furious, where you're going so fast that everything blurs around you. Like that's where I was for like a long period of time. But it's blinding. Like you can't, you don't get the periphery of what you should be.
But I can't remember what point it was where we, maybe we didn't discuss this, but like some business owners, gym owners are just being busy, but they're not doing any, they're dealing with merchandise orders, or they're doing, can you give me extra credits on my account? And they're busy doing very low paid jobs, and they feel they have to be busy doing busy things, and they're not creating that structured time off, right? Okay, so I'm going home on Friday, 5 o'clock, and I'm going to put my phone and just leave it in the car for 12 hours until the morning, and just going to be present with husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, kids, friends, because you feel like you're on the go all the time because you have to reply to emails instantly, in DMs, whatever it may be.
And I mean, I'm like, the identity piece on that though is like, let's say you're with your friends, but you're the one on your phone. Somewhere deep inside, I heard this recently, is like, what does it say about you? What do you think it says about you by you being on your phone? Does it say to you that your friends think, oh fuck, look how busy his business is, he must be doing really well if he's still on his phone right now? When in reality, we're like, what does it say about you? Like, what is the narrative you're saying about yourself? Or would it be more successful if you could leave your phone in the car for 12 hours and be present with your mates, and all business would be okay and you'd still have a business in the morning? It's a pretty big mental shift to come over. And it's one that, like, I think we all get caught up in like the do and the doing. We spoke about the time audit earlier. One of our kind of recommendations or prescriptions is do that time audit every quarter. So 1 week every quarter, just run a new time audit and just think buyback time, buyback time.
Love it.
Next one. Forget pride, build a business you can't stand. So this one for me is something that's like really authentic to me. Was I got to a place in my gym business all those years ago where I looked at the business with distaste. Like, I hated what the products had come to. I hated the team. I hated the lack of feeling of a team. I hated the fact that like members didn't see the value of my coaches. They only wanted me to coach. And it all just became this horrible thing. And through the years of mentoring so many gym owners, one of the things that brings me the greatest sense of like pride is when a gym owner goes, I walked into my gym today and I thought, fuck, I'm so proud of this business. Like, I'm proud of the work we're doing here. And that to me is like the biggest shift that I can make. Because I don't care about your rev numbers as much as you might think it is. I don't care that I'm going to put your prices up, although I'm going to do that so you have people that actually value your service. I don't care about all the other fluff, the marketing shit that like makes it look like we do what you think we do. I care more that you can look at your business and go, I'm proud of what we're doing here. I'm proud of my team. I know how I can lead my team. I know I can grow this business, and I know I can take some time off. And if we can do that, we're doing some pretty cool stuff. There's nothing worse than building a business you can't stand. And I think that comes from a place of like removing yourself so much from like what it is you actually believe in and why you set it up in the first place.
So a state of gratification is the end goal.
Yeah.
I think every business owner, regardless of what industry you're in, has probably said to themselves, I've had enough. I just want to burn this down, start again. So what would you say to the gym owner who has built a monster of a gym, revenue-wise, team-wise?
Yeah.
They're perceived in the community as successful, but deep down, they've got a massive to-do list. They're drowning in overwhelm. Profit margins aren't where they need to be, even though rev numbers are high. What can they do to get to that state of gratitude towards team, product, customers, marketing, and ultimately, going back to the other point, is disconnection and time off?
It's a great question. It would start with audit your best clients. So like genuinely look at your business. Let's say you got 200 members, 300 members. Find me the 10%, go 80-20 rule. Find me the 20% of members you absolutely love. Like they value the product. When you put the price up every time, they don't blink an eye. They bring their mates. They rep the merch. Like they just love it. Audit them. And then dial in and go, how can I make the business more about them than all the other stuff? And you just dial in on the 20% that actually works. That would be the best thing you do. And then lo and behold, it will solve a bunch of those other questions where it's like, do I need to be doing all this fluff, right? Why am I getting all those email requests on the holidays, the booking software, whatever? These 20%, they never ask that. It's like, okay, well, where did I go wrong? What was I attracting? What was I bringing in? That kind of stuff.
How's that conditioning them to act inside of the ring?
Exactly. Yeah, and you almost like you keep inviting it, where it's like, well, just change the culture.
Some gym owners, they want to just burn the complete business down, and they make stupid decisions.
Yeah.
And I've heard you talk about emotion versus data, and I'd love for you just to touch upon that again.
Yeah, sweet. I think the gym owner who gets to a place where they want to burn it down, they are emotionally and physically just burnt out, right? And they think that by burning it down, it's just going to solve all their problems. And to some degree, it might do, for sure. But the reason why you're so emotionally charged by it is, one, you've built the business purely on feel. Two, you have associated your self-worth with the success or lack of success of the business. And three, you're dumb, so you don't know your way out. So you just like, and just, we call it entrepreneurial hand grenade. Truth be told, Rich Roach, who you had a great podcast with, we stopped him from doing an entrepreneurial hand grenade about 12 months ago for good reason. And now his business is in a much better place. So when you feel like you're in that position, the data over emotion thing is really important. So if you run through the data, and I guess when I'm looking at a gym, I'm looking, like, especially when we take a gym on a discovery call, for example, top line, I want to go, okay, how big is the gym? What model are you running? What's your turnover? What's your turnover been month on month for like the last 3 to 6 months? What's your operating expenses? What's your average yield per client? What's your margins? What's your front end offer? How many front end offers do you sell a month? What's your attrition? And all of a sudden I have all these numbers that give me a real diagnostic of where this business is at. So let's say, for example, Rev's been stagnant for a while. That already, you and I both know, marketing, sales, attrition, all of it, you're fucked. Okay, so it's like there's something wrong there. When they tell me they're a small group, but they run a 10-to-1 or 8-to-1, I'm like, it's not a small group. So it's like, okay, so how shit is the product? Then I'll go, okay, if you tell me you're a small group, but you're not, and then I look at the attrition, and attrition is like, well, they won't know. Generally, they won't know, because what they'll say is my retention's great. I was like, yeah, but that's not evident in your revenue numbers, because your revenue, your rev has stayed flat. And what they would say is be like, oh, we've had clients for years. I'm like, yeah, I'm not talking about the clients that have stuck with you since day one.
Because of low pricing.
Yeah, they're never going to leave. I'm talking about the ones that came because they got marketed to for some reason and have left. Oh, well, they were never going to stay anyway. That's the excuse. It's like, that's the attrition or the retention conversation we're not having. So through that diagnostic, we now have empirical data to suggest where is the problem in the business. And then we look at it and go, okay, well, if, we've had gym owners with their attrition at 10%, and it's like, okay, do you honestly think that we can put a couple retention plays in and we're going to fix it? Or can you just be honest with me and go, do you see how this is a product issue? Your coaches are shit. Your product's shit. Like we have to tear the whole house down. So it allows us to have that data and then give someone like me who has got a bit of nous around the subject matter. And then we just need to have a conversation around, okay, well, I can change all these data points, but what does success look like for you? And I guess no one's really describing what success looks like for the gym owner. I remember when we first started talking about gym owner mentorship and all that kind of stuff. Back in the day, having your gym do 250 grand a year, that was deemed a success. And I came in to this market and I was like, no, 500,000. Like, here's the roadmap for 500,000. It's still to this day the most liked post we've ever posted on Instagram. And it's like, okay, let's glorify this 500,000. Let's talk about it for a second. In reality, it's not hard to get there if you're running a 200 member, 200 pound average yield small group personal training gym. It's not that hard. But in order to get there, so many things need to be done right. And it's all the stuff under the hood. You know that iceberg visualization where it's like the things you see and the things you don't see. All the things you don't see that people just aren't willing to associate with. And that's why we're so hell-bent on the education piece. So we can build the iceberg beneath and then the peak is great.
What I get from this and from you is you're very good at holding the mirror up.
Yeah.
And other people see it as he's too direct. But ultimately you're just telling the truth. And sometimes the truth is hard to hear. So it's easy to then bat off the truth by blaming the person who's telling you the truth.
100%. I think if I go back to my rugby career and trying to become a pro rugby player, I wish the coach just gave me the truth. Do you know what I mean? I just wish I got the real feedback that is going to say, Jenz, you're not fast enough. It's like, okay, cool, I'm going to go work on that. Or oh, just keep going. It's like, keep going where? What? And I think we all yearn a level of direct feedback that goes, here's the truth, go do. And I think most of us would love to do it. We're just so scared of being seen as not good enough, and then we don't ask for the truth.
Number 8.
This kind of goes to your question now. Stick to a flawed model. Why rethink your approach? I've heard this analogy been used in a different way, where it's like you chose the wrong vehicle. You put your engine on the wrong chassis, so to speak. And in my world, the way I would describe having the wrong model, it's largely down to no one teaches you gym ownership and no one tells you what to do. So you do it on the basis of Instagram, right? How many people have watched some of the great videos you guys have put up of successful gyms and gone, I'll copy them. But you don't know what's gone under the hood. You just look online, you look at their pricing, and you do a copy of that. I'm a great example of this. In 2016, when I opened up my gym, I was influenced by, there was this incredible S&C gym in Australia called, it's lost me now, like the Strong Collective or something like that. And then there was a gym in New York called Tone House. Two opposite ends of like the spectrum. CrossFit was just like quite cool back then. And through these two things, coming from an S&C background, that had influenced the kind of gym I wanted to have. And then I looked at like different models and whatever, and I was like, we'll run some classes and we'll also do PT. And lo and behold, it was an absolute shit show. It wasn't until Ollie had started working with JC to tear down his model that then JC came to my gym and was like, look at this place is shit. And I remember I looked at him, I wanted to absolutely deck him. And it was the best advice I ever got, because he was like, you need to go small group PT. And I remember how profound that impact was for me personally. And it just goes back to like, well, no one was telling me about that stuff. No one was putting that education out there, and no one was telling you of the different models you can run. And the reality is like we said right in the beginning on question number 1, was like, I actually don't care what model you run. I just care that you run one model really, really well, rather than trying to run multiple models all at once, because it completely ruins your marketing, your message, everything else. If you don't even know what you stand for, how are your members going to that coffee shop after the gym session going to tell some of the other people at the coffee shop what the gym is? It's like, they do a little bit of PT. They'll also do a little bit of classes. I think they do the small group PT thing, but I don't know. It's too expensive. It's like, be one thing and be really good at it.
Bit like the restaurant analogy.
Yeah.
Stick to one cuisine.
100%.
Just be known for that, rather than trying to be like a chain restaurant with 50,000 things on the menu.
Yeah.
Where someone comes in, they're hungry, they just want to eat.
Yeah.
But there's too many options and they don't make a decision.
Exactly.
Same with a gym.
Yeah.
You're trying to be like everything to everyone.
Yeah. You miss the mark every single time. And, for most gyms, you probably want to be serving 150 to 250 people. Like, do that one thing really, really well, and I guarantee you gym ownership will be far easier.
Let's zoom out and go to the corporate world. If you look at like some of the low-cost providers, part of their success is just doing that so well.
Yeah.
Like, this is us, £15, £20 a month. This is what you get. This is who we're looking for.
Nailed it. Exactly that. And I think we can't, as brick and mortar, independent micro gym owners, we can't compete with that, right? We can't compete with price. So if you're not going to compete with price, compete with product and quality, right? And therefore, it's like, what is the highest quality that you can deliver from a product standpoint, and then charge an absurd amount. The amount of gym owners that say to me, when I look at their pricing, I'll go, we need to charge more. And then they go, but we're already the most expensive in the area. I don't care. Be more expensive. Be the kind of expensive that people will pay and demand high quality product. And then you'll show up, I guarantee you.
It's like online coach that we work with, Kurt Miller, charges 5,000 front end for 90-day online coaching.
Boss.
And makes sales.
Yeah.
Every week.
And people do the work, don't they?
And he gets incredible, like Photoshop, Men's Health cover ready. They'll never be on Men's Health, but they look great, right?
Yeah,
and, it's because the product online is now down. He knows what he stands for. He knows what his price point is.
Yeah.
Mindset's on point. He's done the work on himself, which goes back to what you said earlier, rather than going back to the mistake you made of like, this gym in Sydney does this, the gym in America does that, I'll do my own version of it. Yeah. Which is what a lot of us fall into the trap of.
Yeah. I call it a Franken-gym. It's just like a Frankenstein version of a gym where it's just like all these different pieces put together. It's not considered. It's just like a Franken-gym.
I think I've heard you say it before, where you've got like mismatch of kit.
Yeah.
You've got Vipers that you've bought from Expo 15 years ago, Bosu balls that you use with one rehab client that you're charging cheap rate with because you've always trained them.
Yeah, it's actually so cringe if you think about it. the amount of gym owners who keep their GHD in the corner because it's nice for them in their session, but it takes up so much space. You could have had another client there. So funny. Diversify everything. So point number 9. Don't focus on what actually works. I think we've stressed that. I think the one thing I would say is I've seen far too many gym owners run a small group PT model, reach an area of what seems like critical mass, and then go and add a large group cheap offering to their model, and they think that that's the fix. I've never seen it in the long run play out the way you want to, and it devalues what it is you're doing. A bit like going, we run small group and now we're going to offer open gym as well. Like, it's the stupidest thing you could do. You think, if I just have 30 clients paying 100 quid a month, that's an extra $3,000, like it's 36 grand a year, whatever. What you don't see is those are the people who come in, fucking mess up your gym, leave it dirty, and you got to clean up before the PT clients come in. It's the same people who are emailing going, do you mind if I pause for this month because I'm not here? It's all that lag that you've allowed to happen from people who don't value coaching in a house that you're trying to say we sell coaching. So make sure that you don't get to a place where you're trying to diversify so many things. If you believe that your product's really good and there's a market for it and you've now reached your capacity, license to charge more. License to charge more. If you genuinely feel like you've tapped out, then I'd just, again, go back to stop abdicating responsibility and look back within and be like, hey, we've tapped out on the level of which I know to my max. We've hit our glass ceiling. So what is the solution? Ask for help.
Because what I've seen too many times is they think they're at capacity, so they open location number 2. But location number 1's not locked down. It's not to capacity.
Yeah. Or go online, right?
Yeah, that's another one. Yeah.
The amount of gym owners that go, I want to go online. It's like, okay, let's look at the business. Like, don't go online. Or let's open up a second gym. You're so right. And I've heard Alex Hormozy say this once before around gym ownership, where he said something like, until you've removed yourself from all things gym for, I think, 6 months or 12 months, you haven't earned the right to open up a second facility. I think that's a great analogy. It's like, until you can actually well and truly step out for 12 months, take a holiday for 12 months, like you haven't earned the right to go open
vacation test, right?
Yeah.
Full weekend, full week, 2 weeks, 4 weeks.
Yeah. Until you can do that, like,
can you still make sales every single week? Can you still retain the clients?
Yeah. That's the one. Because otherwise you scale your problems, right? You scale your problems, and that becomes a real headache.
Going back to what you said at the start, so you said you've seen a gym offer a small group and then they think they're at capacity, so then they'll offer a large group. Would that large group be at weekends or just unsociable hours? Or
like weird hours, or they might, put them in some peak times. It's just suicide. It's stupid.
Or run it alongside the small group.
Yeah. But again, if you can run it alongside, then I'd rather just have another small group.
Another pod.
Yeah.
Slotted in, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I mean, if you can take a 2,500 square foot gym floor, and you can have 4 pods of 6 people per pod, and you're running 40 to 45 sessions a week, a team of 5 or 6, like that's a very, very successful gym. So I think the golden thread that's gone through this whole conversation, go it alone. Asking for help is for the weak. So what would you say?
Well, the reason personally I've got to the level I'm at is because I've asked for help every single step of the way. Because I don't possess all the skills needed, and I've had to learn a lot.
How much would you attest your success to that?
Probably everything. Yeah, from way back when I was a gym instructor. Not many people know my story, and I will do a podcast on it, but way back to when I was a gym instructor, to running outdoor fitness, to doing marketing consulting, to moving into a marketing agency. So like every step of the way I've asked help, even this week. And it's today is Tuesday.
Yeah.
So every, all the time. Yeah.
What would you, how would you describe your mindset when you're going to seek people's advice? Why are you like? How would you describe how you feel internally when you go to someone and ask for help?
Probably relief that I'm going to get the answer. Stop trying to figure it out myself.
Yeah.
And goes back to what we talked about before. Shortcut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. The price of not knowing is way worse than the price of finding it out.
Yeah.
Every time. I think for me, and this is something that I'm really trying to get right within our community with the Gymowner Network, and actually with like the March on Coaching team and all the rest of it, is like an obsession on vulnerability and like just going like, hey, I don't know this thing, and like just talk about it and share your struggles, and then together we can like have these conversations. I guess in an environment like, let's say, the Gymowner Network, where it is quite elitist, it can be easy to assume that everyone is elite. But I think you and I sitting here today, the thing that makes us elite, and I don't feel like I'm elite yet, and I don't think you will either, is purely down to the fact that we're elite at asking for help. That's what we're elite at. Not elite at anything else. Everything else we're learning every day on the job. But a genuine, like, I call it curiosity. A genuine curiosity to ask. You know, I referenced me asking you for help recently, of which I asked multiple people who I respect in both fitness marketing, but also outside of industry. And the obsession I get from just hearing someone like you, who's passionate about their craft, talk about the thing that they are subject matter experts in, I absolutely love. And it invigorates me. It reminds me to be better at my craft. And I reposted something earlier this morning. It was like, don't get obsessed by where the arrow goes, but get obsessed by how you pull the arrow back, how you pull the bow back, how you draw it back. And I think that's the nature. Is like, ask for feedback, advice, counsel, show up in those environments where you can be exposed to better learnings. Because if you do that, that is the only shortcut in life. And if you're obsessive about growth and ambition and unlocking this, that, the next thing, this is the only way you're going to grow.
Is to tap into a network of people, surround yourself with individuals that are striving to be more, do more, and get the help needed.
Who do you get inspiration from, and like, who are some people in your circle that like you call up when you need help?
Well, at FMA, we have a board that I put into place.
Yeah.
That we have that hold me accountable. So previously it was just me, and I have a lot of drive, which has got me to the level we're at. Yeah. But I was like, I don't know all the answers. I think this is the vision of what I want and where I want to go, but I have no idea how to execute and do that. And I need to have some people around me who have probably got more scars on them and have walked a road that I've not walked on before. And that's what happened. And some shares were given away and some slots were taken. And so every single quarter we meet in person. Every other week we have a Zoom call. And it's like, okay, this is what the plan of action is. What's the numbers? And so on.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. So it's a high level of accountability, but it's one, again, where a lot of people will say they're ambitious, say that they're driven, but not be willing to throw themselves in a lion's den like that, to which they're going to be held to a higher standard of like level of account. I talk about it like within my role as head of March on Gyms. We meet every Monday. I'm surrounded by Ollie, one of the most driven people I've ever met in my life. Lauren Culvert, boss bitch. Her sister, Fran Culvert, boss bitch.
What do they do in the business?
Lauren's head of subs. Fran's head of marketing and apparel. And Jackson is like this genius. And that's our senior leadership team. The accountability of just sitting in there, presenting the numbers, showing how I've been able to impact growth or not for the last week, is massive. And like the gym owners listening to that now, don't go, oh, I need to hire a whole board. Don't go, I need like the Lauren Culverts and the Frank Culverts of the world.
What I've seen is I've got these really successful clients that are on big salaries in jobs. Or I've got a couple of clients that have successful businesses. Use those as my outlet and resource and my board or my mentors. But it just never works out because as successful as those individuals are in their own industries, it's completely different.
Yeah, it's all about the nuance. It's all about the nuance. So yeah, if you're a gym owner listening to this, the principle that runs through it is ask for help. If you don't know marketing and you're not on the FMA, like get involved. If you want to become a complete professional gym owner, you come to the Gym Owner Network.
You said go pro,
like completely go pro. But I think the reality is, plugging me or you, it doesn't matter. It's the nuance of asking for help from someone who's been there, done that. Referencing Alex Hormozy again, I'm pretending like he's the oracle, but he once said something. It was like, don't take advice from people who haven't played the game. There's too many people talking shit on the internet. That's a great piece.
But the ego in some of us may be resistant to be like, I listen to all these podcasts, this podcast, 6, 7, 8 podcasts every single week. But then I'll continue to just try and figure it out myself. I'll continue to make these mistakes. I'll continue to persevere because that's what I've always done. Like what does Ben know? What does Jenz know? I won't go and take that leap of faith and shortcut and get help.
Yeah, it's so true. And it's sad, right? Like I've invested hundreds of thousands in freaking education, mentorships with some absolute players because of that. Like if this is the advice they're giving away for free, what could I get if I actually paid for it? Like that's the difference. But people don't see it that way. They just want to take. Like one of the worst trends I see and have seen for the last like three years is coach education has been replaced by Instagram. So you've got all these coaches thinking that their main education source has come from Instagram, 60-second reels, 90-second reels, and you call that education? It's like, you have no idea, princess. You have no idea. Whereas like just invest into your craft, invest into, like, as you say, the shortcuts, and it's so galvanizing. And weirdly, the anecdote to lack of confidence, the anecdote to imposter syndrome is the investment to the skin in the game of actually refining your craft and learning.
Can you recap the 10 points?
Yeah, boss. So, market like crazy. Who needs a quality product anyway? Ignore your weak spots. Plugging skill gaps is overrated. Fly solo. Hiring a team just complicates things. Dodge difficult talks. Let problems fester. Hand over the keys. Abdicate responsibility to outsiders. Grind non-stop. Time off. Who needs it? Forget pride. Build a business you can't stand. Stick to a flawed model. Why think your approach? Diversify everything. Don't focus on what actually works. And go at it alone. Asking for help is for the weak.
I'll give you a few scenarios now of
Go for it.
different stages in the industry. Can you just tell me how you, Gym Owner Network, could potentially help me?
Yeah.
So I'm established gym owner, upwards 30, 40, 50,000 a month. I have a team. I'm not coaching on the gym floor. How could you potentially help?
So run us through the data and run us through what you define as success. So, what are the key frustrations of your business? What are the problems you're trying to solve? It might be around like the team, the quality of the team, the wait list of potential coaches you may or may not have, that kind of stuff. So we'll look at it and go, okay, which are the holes in the business that we need to plug, and what's the strategy in which we're going to do it. It will all come down to a really thorough assessment. So no gym owner comes onto into our ecosystem without a really thorough assessment. You'll go through a business audit of quite a deep dive into, it's been co-written with a psychologist. So it's like, what are some of your big motivational drivers? How is your like reflective performance as a husband, as a wife, as a leader, all these kind of things. Then we'll go into like your marketing performance, your sales performance, everything else. All these data points are all so important. With that, we then go into a bit of an audit of like your website, your marketing channels. We'll mystery shop you, all that kind of stuff, all prior to your strategy call. And in that strategy call, we'll co-create a strategy to kind of move you from where you are here to whatever that North Star is. I think a lot of us lose sight at what our North Star is or what it should be. And maybe some people aren't telling you what else can be achieved. You know, like if you're a 50 grand a month gym owner, you might have tapped out of what you felt was success. So maybe we can redefine that.
Let's talk about middle of the ground. Maybe I'm UK based, so I'm above that threshold, but I've never gone surpassed that into 20s. How could you potentially help? I'm guessing it's the same process regardless of where I'm at.
Same process. Sounds like it's just do everything on a higher scale. So if you wanna grow faster, first thing we look at is model and pricing. So what model you're running, what pricing we're offering. Once we fix that, we're on a train track that's actually going to take us to where we want to go. Then it's like, okay, cool. Now let's nail what our marketing channel is. Let's nail our sales funnel, and let's nail this, provided that the model and the product is good. You and I both know this. The effort of converting a lead to a trialist and converting them to a member is pretty much the same. It gets a little bit easier the more they pay, but it's still the same. So why go through all that effort for cheap clients? Might as well just do it for high paying clients who actually value what you do.
And then I'm a startup. I've got some investment, or maybe I've saved up the money myself.
Yeah.
I've been a PT. I want to open a gym.
Yeah. So that's where you're in a great place to invest into education. We created a foundations program for people like this, where you need to learn all the little like nuanced bits around what gym design do you actually want to open up. You need to understand what that is, and you want to have enough working capital to open up with one person on your team. Like you need, like it's a non-negotiable. You need someone, a right hand or woman, to be with you on the journey from day one. If that's what we do, then and we set up the right model, we buy the right kit. We've got such a great partnership with Black Box, who, when I take on a new gym owner who's about to open up, they'll show me the space. I'll then pull in Chris Hull, who's been on the podcast, and I'll be like, hey, Chris, this guy's going to open up a 3-pod SGPT facility. I want it to go like this, like this. And he'll be like, sweet, leave it with me. He'll co-design it, and they'll have the strategy from gym launch, marketing plan, pricing, staff development, gym design, the whole nine.
Business partner, is that right-hand person a business partner, or is it just a coach? Is it an admin?
It's a tough one. I think some business partnerships work really, really well. I'm very fortunate with the fact that I've been in a bad business partnership, and I've got a great one. And it's all around the vision, right? It's like, is the vision for what we want to create, is it clear enough, is it exciting enough, and does it allow us both to live the life that we want to live in line with our values? So, Ollie and I, for example, both ambitious of like the impact that we want to have, both care about the quality of life that we give to our kids and all the rest of it. So the businesses have all needed to allow for that to happen. Sometimes two business partners, one might be settled with kids, the other one's like, young and free, and they drift apart or whatever. So be very clear on like the vision and values first before going in. I think that a lot of us do it with a business partner because we're scared to do it alone, truthfully. So if that's the deep down narrative that you're avoiding, like probably just go and educate yourself. It'll cost less than having a business partner for sure. But the bottom line is work backwards. So like if you're a $7,000 a month personal trainer and your costs are only like, I don't know, £1,000 a month rent, going and opening up a gym with a business partner with all the expenses, all the debt, all the rest of it to eventually only make $5,000 a month, like maybe that wasn't what you set out to do, all right? And for you both to take out $5,000 each, your business has to be doing very, very well for that to happen.
But if it's just you on your own, you'll be able to take that 10K salary.
Yeah.
Because there's no business partner.
Exactly.
Because you didn't just do the work at the start. I think what you said was crucial. Figure out if you actually do need that business partner, or is it just because you're scared to do it yourself? And so that's crucial. And probably have an exit plan as well if you do go into that business partnership. But that's a whole different podcast. So Jenz, I've listened to this. I resonated with what you said. How do I find out more about you, the Gym Owners Network, and everything that you offer?
So feel free to reach out to me on coach_Jenz on Instagram, DM me. We can have a conversation. If we feel like mentorship's right for you, I can send you a link to go and apply. If you're good to go and you're hungry to go, head over to Gym Owner Network on Instagram. There's a link in bio. You can go over and apply. Through that application form, one of the biggest qualifying questions is, when do you want to tackle this? Is it like today? Is it this week? Is it in the next few months? If you tell me in the next few months, you will not process you'll automatically be churned out of the flow. So if you're genuinely like keen to make a change, then feel free to go through the application form. Tell me that it's a now thing. We can jump on a call and we can go from there. Our whole thing is about turning gym owners pro. We want to help you overcome the biggest challenges that you face in your gym day in, day out. But on top of that, face the challenges that you're facing within so that you can look at your business with pride. You can grow an incredible team and your business can be extremely profitable. We don't like sharing the revenue numbers of what our gyms are doing, but fundamentally, if we look at the case studies of the clients that you've, successfully documented their success, they're the most successful gyms in the UK right now. It's because our shit works, but it only works for the gym owner comes ready to do the fucking work. Don't come to me and forget everything that Ben and I have just spoken about and abdicate responsibility and not take ownership and blame marketing for the reason why your business isn't working, but come with like a willingness to like fucking grow. And if that's how you show up, me and my team will take you so far.
Be the best student.
Amen.
Thank you, Jenz.
Always a pleasure, dude. Thank you, man. Always a pleasure. That was sick.
Thanks for listening to the Fitness Marketing Agency podcast. If you enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe so you can catch future episodes.